I will always be there in the wings saying, you need to be good to people. You need to take your work seriously. You need to have integrity. You need to work with what you've got. I don't know why I've always been so captivated by architecture. The pervasive idea is that if you're a man in the fashion industry, you're gay until proven otherwise. And of course, there are lots of men who aren't. But people make certain assumptions. I just don't like conspicuous consumption. I find it distasteful. There's nothing I like better than going to my apartment, closing the door, cooking my little dinner for one, and just tuning out. My apartment really is my haven. It's a nest where I go to heal. Take the high road. No matter how much strife, and consternation, frustration, and anger you might be confronted with, don't go to that level. I always say I have a Socratic approach to most things that I do. I pummel people with questions because I need to know what they're thinking, what they're trying to achieve, what they believe the final outcome is going to be. I have heard women complain about men holding doors for them as if it is inherently offensive and implies that they are weak. I would hold a door for anyone. It has to do with noticing our fellow human beings and saying, I recognize that you're on this planet, and I don't want a door hitting you in the face. Just the way it never rains when you have an umbrella, you'll never run into people if you look fantastic. But go outside in pajamas, and you'll run into every ex you have. Frankly, I think that fur on a man is difficult to pull off. If it's the warmth you're after, then I'd go with a fur-lined coat, it won't show. I had this wonderful career and thought I would retire as a teacher. And I'm the first one to tell people to break the rules. But you can only break the rules once you know what the rules are. The other thing is, fashion is the last design discipline to actually have academic texts and historical analysis. Life is a collaboration, it's not a solo act. What's interesting about textiles is that they are determined about 3 seasons in advance. That's why when you walk into a store you think, gee, everything looks about the same. Life is not a solo act. It's a huge collaboration, and we all need to assemble around us the people who care about us and support us in times of strife. Go to Lord & Taylor on 5th Avenue, I think it's the 8th floor, and it's just a department called Woman. It's rather devastating. You've never seen such hideous clothes in your entire life. I mean, it's simply appalling. Thank God there are no windows on that floor because if I were a size 18, I'd throw myself right out the window, after seeing those clothes. It's insulting what these designers do to these women. With fashion, you really need to understand the aspects of construction. Not just design on an iPad. I have to have my coffee. I probably have 3 cups a day, but only before noon. If I think about most of America, and maybe I'm terribly wrong, but I think most of America would say that they're not in favor of gay marriage. But there is certainly a large cohort, not a majority but a large number of people, who are articulate and vocal and they'd rally behind this. They're making their opinion known. I don't believe in the scraping of stuff. Take the existing condition, offer up a diagnosis for what's wrong, and a prescription for making it work. I believe in letting karma do its thing. What comes around goes around. Does a man need to know what a peplum is? Probably not. I found early on in teaching, if you're too blunt an instrument, the students discredit you and think you're just being mean. They're not interested in what you have to say. I believe that it's very important to get to know people with whom you can have a substantive dialogue about design and its development. In addition, read everything about fashion that you can get your hands on. A palpable point of view is what makes a designer, so you need to be confident about yours. I have a very Socratic approach. I pummel the designers with questions, so when I get them to step back from the work and look at it with me, they'll eventually see what I see, coming to it fresh and unencumbered. That's always very gratifying because they feel a responsibility and ownership of a solution. Leggings are everywhere, indeed. Personally, I'm not crazy about them, but they can look great with the right look, a tunic, for instance, or a long cardigan. Just don't try to dress them up. If you are going to be catty, you have to be careful with whom you do it, and in what manner. It's the kind of behavior that is best kept behind closed doors. I learned from teaching. If you are perceived by the student to be belittling them or purely criticizing them without offering up words of encouragement and support, they shut down and discredit you. I believe that treating other people well is a lost art. In a manner of speaking, I certainly never want to lose my voice as an educator. The clothes we wear send a message about how the world perceives us. From my own experience, there are so many people who believe that the individual can change. The individual doesn't have to be LGBT. I really cherish having my private time and being alone and being able to decompress. It's my own version of meditating. Call me a schoolmarm, but few things make me angrier than people not taking good care of library materials. I hate Crocs. May they please go away. I'm really not a trend promoter because I feel that people push trends on people they shouldn't. All the magazines contradict each other because it is so diverse. Know what you like, know what looks good on you and keep doing it, no reason to chase trends. Being in the moment is everything. So being in the moment for me is just letting the narrative play out, listening to the designers and giving them helpful feedback about what they're doing. If I had to choose a single destination where I'd be held captive for the rest of my time in New York, I'd choose the Metropolitan Museum of Art. If you have to ask if a clothing item is a dress or a top, it is always a top. Most people wear clothing that is too big or too small for them. And oversized is the downfall for most of us. We have to be careful that we don't look like we're slip-covered. We can wear whatever we want and get away with it. Just be confident about being who you are and dressing for that person. Few activities are as delightful as learning new vocabulary. Everyone has a best feature, so find clothes and accessories to accentuate those, whether it's your shoulders or your long legs. Staples are only good if they truly suit our lifestyle. People come up to me and share very personal and intimate things with me, and I am so touched by all the trust they have in me. The fit of jeans can be worlds apart from brand to brand. If you can find the right fit, skinny jeans can be very flattering. You can be too rich and too thin, but you can never be too well-read or too curious about the world. I wouldn't know what to do on a date. I don't have the time. To make a relationship work, I'd have to give something up, and I'm not so sure I'm willing to do that. So perhaps the real secret to style is filling yourself to the absolute brim with engagement. Loving not wisely, but too well and all that.